1964. godine, prije nego što je brana Modrac
In the year 1964, before the Modrac Dam was officially fully operational, warm weather caused rapid snowmelt. The river Sprecha brought vast amount of water into the accumulation of what was to become Lake Modrac, that is now behind us. The water forcefully discharged through the dam's 3 floodgates and 3 spillways. The new management of this new dam panicked. In haste, they called the designer of the dam, the renowned engineer Maksimovic. He immediately came to Modrac with his family, pitched a tent right here where we stand, gave his child a ball to play with, and proudly concluded, "This dam is indestructible." Marima dreams a restless dream, dark skies and a thundering noise. She wakes tired, unsettled in her room. Before the dawn breaks, a message arrives. "We need you no more," it writes. Stricken by this grim news, she starts her grieving. "Wretched me, how can this be? I've lost my job." Her lamenting is interrupted by a call from Lukovac. It is her grandmother. She asks, "Why do you weep, child?" "Child, why do you weep?" the old woman asks. "Oh, Nana, I just found that I lost my job. No more will I host dignitaries, organize events, search the archives, dictate documents. I cannot keep this house, let alone support you. I am now poor as a church mouse." The old woman replies, "Do not worry, child. In the end, it's your health that counts. Come back home to Lukovac town. You should see how pretty the nature is since the industries have gone. Clear water runs in creeks, and you should only see the spring flower fields. Even the grey egret has returned home. So should you. It's your time, child. Come, keep me company. I'm all alone." And so the old woman convinces Marima to return to Lukovac. It's been 27 years since Marima's father had them all to Sarajevo sent, after that irksome event of the radio broadcast that told of the breakage of the dam. Mirsad had grown up in Lukovac, and he knew well what those marks on the buildings across town meant. Everyone knew that Lukovac was to flood, but not how and not when.
Ali ne I kada. I stade se tako Marima za put spremati.
Marima starts packing. She decides to sell her fine clothes. For where she is heading, she won't need those.
I dođe I taj dan. Po Marimu.
The day comes and a transporter picks Marima up. With tears in her eyes, she settles by a window and watches as the city lights disappear behind her forever.
Svjetla Velegrada. Prošli su oni tako pored staklenih nebodera.
They pass glass skyscrapers, the twist towers 1, 2, 3. They leave behind the shopping plazas. They pass the mega corporations and all the franchises in a row, riding on the city flyover road heading north. Once in Vogošća, a landscape of the dismal truth replaces the cityscape of the future they left behind. A vast field of antennas in its stead they find.
Antena, sve pod direktnom koncesijom. Popeli su se oni tako na
Once on the flyover road heading north, they pass every mega corporation and franchise in a row. Not even out of Vogošća the cityscape morphs into a landscape reflecting depression, an antenna field, each one under direct concession.
Sve I jedna pod direktnom koncesijom. I popeli su se na autoput.
And they ascend to the highway, Corridor 5C. By the time they reach the next town, all around them substations abound. They haven't even gotten to the next town when electrical substations around them abound. Marima looks down below at the torn-up roads and ruptured shafts, all of this caused by erosion's acts. For those heavy rains no one cares. The price has already been paid, for there is electricity to be made.
Biće više električne energije. Godina je 2027. Zemlju odavno presjecaju brzi autoputevi.
The year is 2027. The land has long been traversed by fast highways, pipelines, power lines that speed goods, energy and people high above ground. The country is governed by the EU administration, with its centre in Sarajevo, whose sole concern is that by the year 2050, Bosnia and Herzegovina produces 50% of the region's electricity from its hydro potentials. All else aspects of society, economy and industry have been forgotten. Corridor 5C has already connected to all the important European transit ways. Below it are struggling people living parallel lives.
Se odvija paralelni život napačenog naroda. Od čega žive, kako žive.
How do they live? What do they live from? Freedom of movement is restricted not by prohibition but by being prohibitively priced. Most live poorly, some fare better. There is hope here and there if hydro potential is suspected somewhere, when a foreign firm comes around to make some studies on the ground.
Kad dođe neka strana firma u grad da vidi da li tamo nekog hidropotencijala ima. Došli su tako ovi iz KBR-a da vide da li od Modračke brane ima kako...
That brought KBR to see if the Modrac Dam can be of use. We know its history, built in '64, specially for the industry. Its arches of concrete 2 meters thick. It has 3 spillways and 3 flood gates. Its heavy buttresses buried well beneath the bottom of the Modrac Lake.
Duboko ispod Modračkog jezera zakopani. I napravili su tako oni jednu studiju.
So they made a study. Programmatically, the industries began closing down and the population fled while the borders were still open for them.
I onda su još i znali da uvijek mora neko akumulaciju...
They knew well at all times somebody must be at the dam, monitoring the water level of the lake and the discharge into the river which it fed. So they fired one by one until Tariq remained all alone, the last worker on Spreća, on the dam. But the dam, it still stands. No one can alter it, especially not into a hydro power plant. So they think it might be better to build a whole new dam. And they started firing the personnel with the dam's demise in mind. There goes first, second, third, until Tariq is the only worker they left behind. This is the end of the line for you, said the driver, and up Corridor 5C roared off in the transporter. He left Marima at the eroded road, but from her childhood she knows the way home. Right about then, a bus comes her way. It is rusty, noisy, runs on biodiesel, and with effort it moves. The bus stops next to her, the door opens, the man behind the wheel speaks. Honey, it's your lucky day. I drive on this route only once a week. Hop in and let's be on our way. What, you don't recognize me? It's me, Ibro, your old neighbor. Who else could it be? She has no choice but to get on board, and the rusty bus continues down the weathered road. They drive on for a while when, to Marima's surprise, she sees a forest before her starting to rise, and so they ride through the wood until they reach her old neighborhood. By the road a slender pine grows. Over the road the branches have spread. They ride on through this thick wood until they reach Marima's old neighborhood. And the old woman flies down to the gate and says, Marima, of you just the sight fills my old heart with delight. Let's first go into town to sort your papers out. The old lady at the gate waits to greet Marima, her favorite. Shedding tears of joy, she says, we will have time to talk, dear Mera, but let us first go into town to get your papers sorted out. The old woman and Marima start towards town. Mera's feeling kind of down. Nana, everything here has changed so much. It's like a ghost town or such. The old woman replies, wait a bit, Mera. The old woman replies, wait a bit, Mera, until you see the old soda factory border. There is life there, but first we must cross the water. And so it is, around the factory, Marima sees a lively market is on one side of the clearing. On the other, offices and businesses. People bustling, waiting in line. They go from office to office. The bureaucracy is always such a waste of time. As they walk around, the townspeople sneak curious looks, but the most curious of all is Tariq, Marima's old schoolmate who used to carry her books. He remembers the year 2000 when the radio drama Catastrophe was broadcast on Radio Lukovac. The drama said that Modrat's dam was breaking, but that was not so. All the same, the town was in panic. The town hall discharged the National Guard, the factories dismissed their workers, and the headmaster is said to have been seen fleeing down Main Street, in his hand holding the cage for his parakeet. All the children were sent up to the nearby hill. Of course, it was against their will. And so Tariq and Marima, just preschoolers then, to stop the tears, to be brave, tightly their little hands held, to set an example for the others, and that is how they met. What happened then? Marima and her family disappeared from Lukovac completely, and it was said that Mirsad, her father, had them all off to Sarajevo sent, but he stayed behind to teach literature at the University of Tuzla. Tariq since then lived near the cement factory, and that sealed his fate in a way. From all the industrial noise, he developed a speech problem while still a boy. This caused him a life of pain rather than joy. In Tariq, a forgotten love now starts to stir. He gives her a smile. If he cares or not, it's all the same to her. He comes to her the other day. She just looks at him, then turns away. He starts coming to town, brings her flowers, acts real nice. But she cares or not, it's all the same to her. She's still cold as ice. He walks up to her one day, all confident and determined. Through a stutter, tries to say, "Marima, don't you remember me? It is I, Tariq, from class 1A. Let's go for a picnic on the hill. Maybe you'll remember me that way."
Piknik na brdo Ratiš, možda bi se sjetila.
Marima looks at him and says, "Of course, Tariq, I remember you. But what picnic are you talking about? Don't you see? The snow is up to the knees. At springtime, ask me again. Maybe then you'll get my consent." Spring arrives, and with it the first day of sun. But Tariq is overlooking the dam, concerned and all alone. From one side the dam is crusted in ice, on the other the sun is melting the snow. But Tariq's concerns are swept away as he sees Marima swaying his way. She comes up to him and says, "These guys from KBR sent me over to report the state of the dam, but I wanted to see you myself." Tariq replies eagerly, "Well, Marima, what about that picnic?" Marima looks at him and says, "Tariq, are you out of your mind? I am here on official business. I can't horse around or anything of the sort. Look, they're calling already, wanting that report. Tell me now, what's up with the dam?" Tariq conscientiously replies, "I hear a rumble from afar. It is the massive snowmelt coming down. The dam isn't looking too stable today. From the ice and the warm sun, look, the dam is starting to crack." Thus Tariq explains to her in stutters.
Tapanje snijega I od tog toplog sunca brana vidi već puca I tako Tariq objašnjava Merimi I muca, a Merima će njemu pa Tariq...
Marima in turn asks him, "Well, you told me the stats, but Tariq, what are we to do? We must warn the people or they'll all drown like rats." He tells her, "Do you remember when we first met?" She tells him, "Tariq, this is no time for courting. We are all in the midst of a serious proximity of drowning."
Od općeg jednog davljenja, a on njoj govori, Merima imam...
And he tells her, "Marima, I have a solution if you would only listen. That old radio show must be broadcast to the townspeople as a whole. Don't you remember what happened then? All the people up the hill ran."
Cijelo mjesto se na brdo sklonilo. I brzo Merima se sjeti
Quickly, Merima remembers how to search the archives. She reaches for her pocket communicator, finds the recording of the catastrophe show on some old blog. What language she cannot tell. The words cannot be read, but the sounds play well enough.
zvučni zapisi čitati mogu. I Tarik uze taj džepni
Tariq takes the communicator and hooks it up to his mobile transmitter and plugs it into the control tower's amplifier. And so, once more, they aired the catastrophe show into the waves of Lukavac's radio.
staru radio emisiju Katastrofa ponovo u eter radio Lukavca. A u tom času komšinica Sada
Right about that time, neighbor Sada was spreading her washing on a line. She hears a fuss on the radio, cranks up her receiver for all the neighborhood to hear her.
i odvrnu taj radio tako glasno da čuje pola komšiluka. I naravno, digla se uzbuna, svi su krenuli.
And of course, all get alarmed, all head for the hill, all except one, Marima's grandma. She heads towards the dam. No one can sway her will.
U tom trenu na brani Tarik govori
At the very same moment at the dam, Tariq is saying, Marima, come on here, to me, from the melting snow and sun, look, the dam is about to break.
njega i s sunca, evo brana već puca i nije ni izustio.
And as he spoke those 2-3 words, the earth began to shake from a violent earthquake.
Jer znali su oni iz strane firme da će
The firm knew that erosion and thermal stress will have its way, and when they induce that quake, the dam in two will break.
stvarno puče
And for sure, one mighty arch burst, the buttresses like dominoes collapsed. Tariq got shot to a nearby pine by a strong water blast. As the tower where Marima stood crumbled and disappeared completely, she leapt after Tariq to the safety of the tree.
baci za Tarikom. I sačekaše oni da se tok bujica
They waited for the raging water to settle to its bed, and down soft pine they sled, and started looking for Marima's grandmother in the flooded village.
poplavljenom selu. I sačekali su oni da se tok rijeke vrati u svoje korito.
They waited for the river to return to its bed, and down the soft pine they softly sled, and started looking for Marima's nana.
Tarik zna da tu nema neke nade i stvari.
Tariq knows there is little hope or luck. Soon enough they found the old woman's lifeless body under a huge concrete block.
Merima uhvati se za glavu i poče da plače i kaže ovdje više
Marima holds her head in her hands and begins to weep. There is nothing left for us here. No one cares or knows. No one will come round to rebuild our homes. There was nothing before, even less so now. Let's get out of this flooded town.
bježimo mi iz ovog poplavljenog grada. I Tarik joj tu govori, Merima, joj ja te nikad neću napustiti. To ti je
Tariq tries to comfort her. Marima, I will never leave you. Let this be a promise from me. You are just like me now, all alone. Everything we ever had has been washed away by this damned dam.
sve ti je odnijela ova prokleta brana. I u poplavljenom selu nađoše nekog materijala što pluta i sa svoje 4 ruke napraviše čvrst splav.
In the flooded village floating about, they found driftwood and built a strong raft. While it was still day, towards the lake they set sail, looking for a path, searching for a way. And if they knew what lies ahead, they would have changed their direction then. For behind them the sun begins to set, and dark clouds take their stead. Drizzling rain starts to fall, rain misty and cold, rain that does not cease until this tale has been told.
Se ne završi ova priča. Kormilare oni ispod crnog neba, a ispod njih jezero je još crnje.
Navigating under dark skies, only darker is the lake below. Tariq is looking if there is light in the distant sight, when suddenly next to him, standing, is a white woman, all dressed in white.
On odgovara jesi
Are you the lake fairy? He asks.
savjet.
She replies, Yes, I am, and I bring you a word of advice. Go to Belgrade town, seek out your cousin Janja.
Tarik joj odgovara.
Thank you, Lake Fairy, Tarik replies. Can you do me another favor? Make my stutter be gone. If I could talk right, Marima might love me a little bit more.
Merimi udvarati. U redu, kaže Vila, ali imam ja jednu bolju ideju.
All right, but I have a better idea, the fairy says. Why don't we send Marima to keep company with the giant catfish and the spirits of perished fishermen and divers at the bottom of the dark lake? I can take her place. You know she was too proud. Now she has nothing. I still have my power. There and then Tarik loses his temper and shouts out, "Begone, evil fairy, begone! Go back where you belong, to the dark depths of your dark lake. I curse you by your drowned tombstones and spirits. Never come up again, never wake."
I nestade tako Vile, ali nestade I Tarikovog mucanja.
And so, with the fairy gone, so was Tarik's stutter. They somehow made it to the corridor 5C. What happened then, we can just guess. Some say they reached the Arctic. It is more likely that they made it to the North Seas or the Baltic.
Da su stigli do sjevernih mora ili Baltika. Plove oni niz rijeku, a gradu kraja nema.
They sail down a river, and this city has no end. As they make for the river banks, tall walls and heavy guards this bastion defend. To add to their plight, hard rain begins to fall, and they hide under a bridge to pass the night. As the rain falls, a mist begins to form. From the mist, in a boat, an old man appears alone. He introduces himself. "I am Mr. Ilko, and I live on the flood island Mejica. I can tell you are either lost or looking for something. But whatever you are looking for, you won't find it here no more. This is Europolis, Delta grade, once known as Belgrade. As far as your eye can see, we don't belong here. Come on, follow me." Ilko guides them to a floating city. Houses on stilts line the shore, rafts on metal barrels, even more, the river shifting them freely. So you see, children, what has come of us. All the folk live here, exiled by those anti-intellectual privateers and professionals. Look, you can cross the river now, off foot. Oh, my children, this is like a floating favela, just like the time before that Belgrade gazella. Now let us go to sleep. You have your appointments in the morn to keep. In the morning he told them that it would be best to start their quest at the biggest floating object in the area, Kolos. And to Kolos they came, a concrete floating build-out 10 stories high. When Nyanya sees them from atop, she quickly drops her mop, comes down, hugs her cousin and says, "Cousin, I am so happy to see you. If you hadn't shown up, I would never think of leaving here. Sometimes it is really hard to be born in this dump. You have arrived at just the right time. I have a job for you aligned."
Baš ste došli u pravi čas. Ja ovdje imam jedan posao za vas. I ujutro su se oni pred Kolos.
And in the morning they set out to Kolos. When Nyanya sees them from the 10th floor atop, she rushes down like a shot and hugs her cousin. "Oh, cousin, am I glad to see you. I would never make it out of here alone. It is hard in this place to be born."
Se nikad sama ne bi izbavila. Ponekad mi je tako teško što sam se ovdje rodila. I došao si, rođače, u pravi...
And cousin, your timing is just right. We are preparing a big party here tonight, and the boss just fired everyone. Follow me, but don't tell who you are. Just pretend you came from Bosnia to answer the help wanted ad. And so it was. They came to the boss and he started ordering them around. "You are at the bar, you at the door, and you serve on the floor. Tonight you all work for tips. I don't care what you expected. This is the job you have selected." As the guests begin to arrive, they do as they've been told. Their tip jars full to the brim, and more guests still coming in.
Preko preko ruku prešlo u bundi u vrijednosti par milijuna. I razgali se dernek.
The party was underway, everybody drinking, smoking, sniffing some new stuff. Around Kolos, guests begin to gather, Yanya behind the bar, Tarik their waiter, their tip jars filling to the brim, Marima on the door letting more and more people in. The party was underway, everyone drinking, smoking, sniffing some stuff, but before it was all over, the entire party passed out from some new drug. Yanya, Tarik and Marima see an opportunity in that and start picking the pockets of each of the guests. But Tarik then stops and says, "Marima, are you aware that rain is falling for days? I think out of this town we have to escape." Marima replies, "Oh, Tarik, what kind of nonsense is that? We've just arrived, my clothes barely have dried, and you want to flee this gold mine? Tarik, are you out of your mind?" He then replies, "Marima, I know well what I speak, more so what I hear. This is a roar of water gone wild."
Ovo je tutanj podivljale vode. I tu se Marima uzbuni I kaže, pa mora...
Here Marima gets alarmed. "We have to go save Ilko, that kind man. We have to save the neighborhood, do all we can. We must warn them somehow or they will all drown like rats. But how in time can we do that?" And by the way, where the hell is Yanya? With a fan of credit cards, Yanya rises from behind the booth. Arm lined with expensive watches, she's beaming, showing off her new gold tooth. "Thank you, dear cousin, for this chance. With all this loot I can even get to France."
Ali kako ćemo stići do Ilka na vrijeme?
"But can we reach Mr. Ilko on time?" worries Marima. Yanya then comes up with a cunning plan. "Dress like this, elite. Take the secret tunnel. No one is going to ask you anything. Just shut your mouths and do not speak." And so it was. Tarik and Marima dress up like the elite. Doors open in front of them, no questions asked, and into the tunnel they safely pass. In the tunnel, Tarik is pulling Marima's hand. "Go faster and faster." What he knows and has been told is that when the flood comes, the tunnel cannot hold. They ran the tunnel behind them, it collapsed, a scene just like in action movies from the past. They reach Ilko and the people, get them on the embankments just in time, but the flood wave hits before Tarik and Marima on the walls themselves can climb. A flood wave bursts, piling the rafts together into a dam as high as a hill. And look, our heroes, Tarik and Marima, are balancing on top, alive and well still. Water spills down the valley, one more flood wave breaks this rickety mound, and Tarik and Marima are again washed downstream on some raft they found.
Saprala ih je zora do neke nepoznate obale.
The dawn beaches them ashore. There they are at a new place once more. But upon a second look, Marima knows where they are. Through many savvy business deals, she personally knows the director of the Sava Rapids Recreational Center. She thinks this could be a very comfortable place. All she needs to do is meet the chief face to face. While Tarik is sleeping steady, she leaves him under the bridge and starts getting ready. She combs her hair with a piece of wire fence, makes shiny jewelry from broken bottle scraps. She heads directly to the director's office. He sees her right in. "What a surprise! Is this a dream? You disappeared at once, Marima. Where have you been?" And she replies to him, "Oh, chief, don't even ask. In the end, it's your health that counts. In the agency, they let us all go and replaced us with drones. But damn, chief."
Nego dišo.
"But damn, chief, this dam of yours sure has grown." The director says, "It is not mine, but from that jackass, the mayor. He keeps on making it taller and taller. I have no complaints, though. It is good for this center. As you know yourself, we started construction during the Great Recession because we needed to broaden the scope of our tourist attraction. With that, the big floods coincided in 2010, and then we proceeded to build the new embankment. It seemed then like the best time to start building this dam. With that, we built this haven for all the species of extreme sportsmen. Yes, you see, here we have a big waterfall, and here's the wellness and the spas. At the bottom is an artificial Hawaii paradise. This center is as good as it can be. It brings jobs and growth to the whole community. But tell me straight, Marima, why do you come? Chief, you know I came here looking for a job.
Ja sam ti ovdje došla radi posla. Zaposli se Marima.
And so Marima got her job as a manager. With the changes, everyone favors her. She set up a rafting school as soon as she could, and as the instructor hired Tariq, just like she knew she would. Still they live under the bridge, hoping for the better, staying off the street, believing in each other. One morning a full transporter of foreign sportsmen arrives at the center. Finally they can jump, crash, hit, push, collide, experience adrenaline rush. One of them proclaims, "They sprang on us every security code known to man. It's too safe out there, you can't even break a leg or be a serious sports fan." Marima tells them, "Dear gentlemen, dear guests, you have come to the right place. This center is totally toxic and frisky. Even the journey to your rooms will be risky. As of recent, we have the highest free-fall peak, and that mountain no more does of garbage reek. It used to be the city's dumping ground, but now there is not a single bin bag there to be found. We've transformed it into an area of recreation and fun. Tariq here will show you now how around here it is done."
U uredu gradonačelnika.
Meanwhile, in the mayor's office, "Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, we have word that a flood wave is coming down our section of the river." The mayor asks, "Will the dam withstand?" They reply, "Well, we don't know, Mr. Mayor. You made all the arrangements with the contractors yourself."
Gradonačelniku. Pa ne znamo, gradonačelniče. Vi ste se sve sami dogovarali sa izvođačem. Prije nego što se primio gradonačelnik telefona...
Even before Mayor reached for the phone, got contact from the chief, on the other side of town, Tariq knows what's going down. Before he reached for the phone, the mayor got chief's contact on the other side of town. Tariq already knows what's going down. He tries to get Marima's attention. "Marima, Marima." He tries to get Marima's attention. "Marima, Marima." Marima is welcoming the guests and saying, "Tariq, give me a break. Welcome, welcome." "Marima, you won't believe what I am about to say, but I think we have to get away." Marima tells him, "What kind of nonsense is this? We have just arrived. My clothes have just barely dried. Are you out of your mind?" "Marima, I know well what I speak, more so of what I hear. This is a roar of water gone wild." Marima is greeting the guests. She is saying, "Welcome, dear guests. Tariq, what do you want?" "Marima, listen to me now. I think we have to run from this town." Marima says, "What kind of nonsense is this? What kind of urgency can this be? We just started working and you want us to flee. Are you out of your mind?" And he tells her, "Marima, listen to me already. I know well what I speak, more so of what I hear. This is the roar of water gone wild." And Marima now gets alarmed. "We have to save these people or they'll all drown like rats. Quickly, get them to the barge. Go on with the rafts." A large barge floats nearby, trapped by the building of the dam. Instead of shipping goods down the river bends, useless there now it stands. And at that moment, as the flood wave down the river descends, the dam on Sava Rapids breaks at both ends. It falls over like a log, raises a wave high like Mont Blanc. The river surge adds to the tsunami that thrusts their barge on a giant wave. and when that surf begins to wane, it plants the barge on top of the free-fall hill like a biblical ark, but instead of animals they have extreme sportsmen on par.
Ali umjesto životinja oni su imali ekstremne sportiste u paru. Gleda sa visine Merima poplavljenu ravnicu.
The administration building is gone, rapids of Sava too, the wellness and the spa. As Merima looks down on the flooded plain below, to herself she thinks, "New life I thought I had just begun, but what a fate it is to see washed away again all I had by the force of some damned dam." What she doesn't see as the veil of clouds lifts off the horizon is that the sun once more shines its rays. Tariq turns to her and says, "Let's get out of here, just the two of us." They bid their new friends farewell and mount a hang glider for two. Over the tower blocks and the flooded plain, to greet the setting sun, Tariq and Merima fly off again.